This, to me, is one of the exciting opportunities, frankly, that we have facing us here in MetroWest. I really believe that, I think it makes sense that our legislature has been Boston-centric. Frankly, for many, many years, the growth, the economic development was happening in Boston, and I think out of that came this natural focus on investing in the city. The big opportunity that we have now that we need to make sure we take full advantage of is the fact that people are starting to realize that this area is a potential economic center or significant economic center of the state, in addition to other areas, including Boston and Worcester, obviously. We need to make sure that the State House understands this. I think Senator Spilka has already gone a long way in being a loud voice for this. I think we need to make the case on Beacon Hill. We need to do it as in force. There's strength in numbers. I think we need to come forward as a group. I think, again, the MetroWest Legislative Caucus is a great forum for doing this. I know the members of that caucus have already taken on some of the toll issues. Let's expand the reach of that caucus to take on some of these other issues, including transportation, infrastructure investment, and help the state understand that if we're looking to move the state forward economically, there is a huge opportunity here. And an investment in MetroWest and in our infrastructure is an investment not only in our communities, but an investment in the state and economic development as a whole. And it will bring a payoff that we all should be interested in. So again, working together is key, strength in numbers, and making a forceful case in the state.
Thank you. The next question, Ed Mills will start this one. We have a bipartisan panel of candidates, so this is a bipartisan question. As a Republican, how can you be an effective voice on Beacon Hill? Or, as a Democrat, how can you work in a nonpartisan way that helps all of your constituents?
Well, I would have to reach out to all of my constituents, my friends and neighbors of the 8th Middlesex District, and work very, very hard to listen to their issues and their concerns. The issues are my issues, their concerns are my concerns. As of last night, I've knocked on over 3,911 doors, and I'm listening to what the people and my friends and my neighborhood has told me. They are worried about the up-and-coming winter. The heating oil is going to be close to $4 to $5 a gallon. I sat on the I-495 initiative over 10 years ago, and I stood up and I said how gas and fuel costs was going to reach that level of between $4 and $5 a gallon. And people disagreed with me. Reality is here. Just reaching out, talking, and doing the work of the people of the 8th Middlesex District is something that is totally needed. Thank you.
Carolyn?
We've got a lot of challenges at the state level. I think everyone in this room is familiar with what they are. And I think we're going to have some serious decisions coming up here that are not partisan decisions. They're decisions about our future, about where we're headed economically, about the future of education. I think now, if ever, we really need to work together. Whatever political party, I think we share common problems. I think we need to base our solutions on a pragmatic, common sense approach. I think, idealism only goes so far, and I think we need to look at the numbers, look at the facts, just like you do in business. What are the numbers and what makes the right solutions? And I think that's not a partisan issue. It's a practical issue, and that's where we need to go. From my perspective, the fact that I'm a Democrat, the fact that most of the other members of the House are Democrats is simply will make it easier to have a discussion and to enter the discussion. Will that mean that I will not reach out and speak with Republicans? Absolutely not, and we absolutely have to do that.
Dan?
I get this question a lot when I'm speaking to voters for obvious reasons, and frankly there's a couple answers. One is very nuts and bolts, and I already mentioned it. A freshman Republican is immediately on very influential committees, just by virtue of the numbers. There are only 19 now, and you have to have 2 members of the minority on every committee. Freshman Democrat tends to end up on very low-level committees, and they have to not make waves. They have to please leadership to work their way up over a number of years. The second response is a little bit less nuts and bolts, but it's also reality. I have yet to hear anyone, as I go around campaigning, say that the person we're running to replace, Paul Muskoka, has been ineffective for being a Republican. I've never heard either of my potential opponents here say that, or even suggest it. He's universally lauded as a very good representative. And third, again, I'll return to the point I was making earlier. A Republican representative can stand up on the floor of the House and get debate back on the floor of the House and speak truth to power, for lack of a better word. Ed mentioned his Pike petition. There's a lot of talk about the Turnpike, including from Ed, but nobody ever talks about the fact that the reason the Mass Pike hemorrhages money, part of the reason is that it's drowning under the weight of unsustainable labor contracts. Now, to look at the Pike and not look at that issue is like to figure out how to save a drowning man without talking about pulling him out of the water. But Ed doesn't bring up that issue because he has a tremendous amount of labor support and can't bring up that obvious issue. When I said his petition was a gimmick, what I mean is, taking a petition around the MetroWest to ask if people want to roll back turnpikes is like going around to find out who likes ice cream. You know the result of that. There's no question on Beacon Hill as to whether MetroWest opposes toll hikes. They do. The question is whether people are willing to stand up, as I am, and say the turnpike is a terminally flawed organization, needs to be eliminated. Its operations need to be rolled into Mass Highway.
Thank you. Next question, and we'll begin with Carolyn on this one. Businesses large and small can't thrive without a solid base of prospective employees. What will you do as a representative to make the area more accessible to young, educated families?
I think this is the key issue. I've worked in business. My background is in business. Worked in business for years. I've also been in a position to interview candidates for job openings. And the fact is that that's a critical issue for our state. And what we're seeing is an exodus of some of these younger, especially up and coming professionals. And one of the things we need to do is address how to deal with that. Housing has emerged as clearly a significant issue in that discussion, and affordable housing, reasonably priced housing, is something we need to work on. One of the things I did on the planning board in Holliston was to lead the way to an affordable housing bylaw, which will make some progress toward adding affordable units. I think we need to go further. I think transit-oriented development and the ability to fund and incent that type of development that gives young people a range of housing types, not just single family, but townhouse type units that's centered around public transportation so that they can easily get to jobs, including jobs out here in MetroWest if they want to live closer to the city where there's perhaps more activity in the evening. How do they get out here and work and provide the talent that we need out here in MetroWest? Talks to public transportation. Let's improve the train schedules and the reverse train schedules coming out of Boston so that these younger people can make it out here. My cousin who's young, she's got a young family, they love to live in Beacon Hill. And they intend to stay there. They work out in Clinton. That's the reality, is we're seeing a lot more reverse commutes happening, and we have an opportunity there in MetroWest, and that's something we really need to focus on, is transportation.